Luca Nation, welcome back to the Fractional Report before opening bell, brought to you by Collectable. And I'm super excited for today's episode. We're heading into an awesome month of sports. We have baseball opening day right around the corner. Basketball playoffs are right there as well. You're heading into the World Cup. F1, everyone's excited about that. Will that make its place, or will we see some IPOs on Collectable in the coming months with F1 cards? There's a lot of awesome stuff, and we're about to discuss it all here on the best show in the world, the Fractional Report before opening bell, brought to you by Collectable.
Boom.
Cage.
Nails it.
Last week we spoke about LeBron, the Lakers, what to do with LeBron cards. LeBron has more cards than any other athlete on the platform. And I said my personal opinion was I think the Lakers want a long off season. I think they're ready to pack their bags, call it 2022, a done year, not even make the play-in game, and just go home and kind of regroup. I think this week is when kind of that nail is in the coffin, and we start to see a sell-off in LeBron cards. So before we get into any data, anything like that, I wanted to open up with that topic and kind of pass the mic popcorn to you and see if there's anything that stuck out to you before we go through all the data.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, lots of data, lots of stuff. We got PWCC's premier auction opening up, and, that's out there. And you got Ken Golden auction. Those will be ending in 6 days, basically. By the time you hear this episode, it'll be a matter of days when that's ending. A lot of good comps in that. The LeBron thing's an interesting topic, right? Because, we've kind of seen this throughout the year in modern basketball. The fluctuation that happens on cards has happened on the lower end of the spectrum cards, if I'm allowed to say that, right? Zion, who didn't even play all year, you saw a lot of, his lower end cards, his commodity type cards get beat up. The Prism base is, $200. You probably get it for less than that now. 20,000 of those, graded plus. Some of his other cards, down, but the higher end stuff, not really taking a beating because, one, people who are into that don't need to sell at a loss, and two, people figure, those will be the cards that people are going to go after. Even Luka's stuff, and Luka's having a great year. That Prism Silver is, it's a third of where it was, maybe less than a third of where it was at its peak. It's approaching half of what it was the National last year when you and I sold ours.
Mm-hmm.
But his National Treasures cards, his higher end stuff, they're all, setting records. People are chasing those like crazy. So, the LeBron thing, the Lakers thing, I put this out there to our crew also. Like, does it hurt his legacy? You talked about it, right? The Lakers years I think you've used the word abomination. You say this is a bad thing. I think, when you're in fractional type pieces, these high end collectibles that, that are not, not something that people have to get in and out of, they're the higher end pieces. They might not be subject to as much fluctuation, but the flip side to that is if you're holding a LeBron exquisite, $1 million, million and change, right? You're holding that and you own it. You're not going to sell it at a loss, most likely, right? But if you're holding a fractional piece of it, right, this is the flip side. We always talk about how fractional works because it allows the common investor, the common collector, to get into these cards that otherwise a common investor couldn't get into, right? But the same works on the opposite. It's easier for that common investor to take their piece out of that card, because they don't have to sell the whole $1 million card. And
Right.
Also the wallets of the people investing from a fractional perspective might also not look the same. They may look more like me rather than the people who own the full, 7-figure LeBrons. So it's an interesting thing to think about, man. And the Lakers, half of me was like, all right, they're bringing Anthony Davis back. They're going to make a run. They're going to shoot for the playoffs and they're going to make a run at this. And the other half of me is like, all right, if they just packed it in already, what do you think?
I feel like they have no life, Cage. They have no life. And the exquisite, I would agree. The exquisite, that's like I mean, that's out of 99. The people holding that card, they love it. No one would want to sell that for a loss. But I'm looking at cards like the Black Refractor Topps Chrome. You know what I mean? That's an easy card to get back into. The one on Collectables, a BGS 9.5. And I'm not saying people will sell. I'm just curious, kind of like an anthropologist, as to what will happen in this week. Because, we speculate, but then earnings happen, right? This is earnings week. I mean, this is 6 losses in a row. It doesn't seem like they have any life. And I think at some point people are going to realize, hey, we got some money in this guy, and there's maybe better guys to invest in. In our group chat today, you were talking about how Luka is a little bit ridiculously priced. He's down, what is it? He's 25% from all-time highs, half off of what he was at National, yet he's had a better year. His team is winning. He just beat the Bucks.
Yeah, with like 30-something points at 15 assists, I think.
He didn't have a triple-double. What's worse than sitting on dead money, right? As you head into the playoffs, the last thing you want is your money tied up in LeBron when, wait, I could invest in Luka. I could invest in Corey Seager. I could invest in Acuna. And people are going to start making that decision. So for the people that listen to the show that are on it, right as opening bell hits, maybe an opportunity to maybe dip by if that's your thing and you have the capital on LeBron if there's a sell-off. Or if you have your money in LeBron and you want to put it in other options, maybe you'll stay tuned and listen to the show and find some good stuff here. So there's that. I want to talk about one more thing and then I'll pass it to you, Cage. So It's funny how markets are rational but irrational over different periods of time. So what example do I have? Drake opened, was it 3 boxes of Fleer 1986 this week? Or is it just one box?
I saw the one that he opened with Ken. I don't know if he opened it. I know he opened a lot of flows, but I know one box.
It was one, and there was 3 Jordans. That's what it was. And in theory, with every box opened, the supply of the boxes goes down. So in theory, a rational market should adjust for that and the price should go up. But what I think we see is when you open a box and you see the cards inside of it are off-centered, that's probably not going to be a 10 Jordan. You actually see the box dip this week 10%. And short-term, they're irrational, but long-term, people are like, wait a second. There's less box in population. The price should actually go up. So it's funny how that works.
Well, I mean, listen, especially when it's as public of a box opening as that one is, right? Because, all right, somebody told me somebody opened an 86 Fleer box. No, this was like opened in front of thousands of people, you know what I mean? And thousands of hobbyists. So, yeah, you would like to think, people realize there's one less sealed box out there, meaning it could potentially, go up, especially, I mean, that was a great box. I mean, it had 3 plus 3 stickers. I mean, 6 total Jordans in there. So it was a fun box to watch open. Yeah, it was a fun box. And the Jordans were decently centered. I mean, I'd be curious to see what they come out at, I mean, maybe they're all 9s, maybe the one's a 10 and it's it's slabbed as the Drake Ken Golden magical opening, laugh now, cry later opening or something like that, whatever they're going to call it. It'd be it's good stuff.
So PSA's been custom labeling for days. PSA is HGA or HGA is PSA.
Custom labeling, just as far as putting on the slab, if it's like a known thing or a known collection. Dimitri Young, who was a baseball player, he was a big collector. His collection, they slabbed as the Dimitri Young collection. Like we've talked about the Black Swamp find more times than you want me to, but that's on the slab itself. The Aoki collection was slabbed with that on it, whether we like it or not. So
let me go through this. So some of the numbers here, guys. I'll go through by sport. So basketball was up almost 2%, baseball up 0.5%, football down 1%, hockey down 7%, golf up 4.5%, soccer down 5.5%, boxing down 1%, and wrestling up 8%. And I'll tell you that WWE Prism release kind of put a little bit of life into what's a very niche market in wrestling. Very niche market, I think.
It's funny. I had to find my tweet, but David Peck, Wrestling All-Stars, first guest of our show. I think I reached out to him a while ago and said, hey, WWE Prism's coming out. Is it something you're going to open or do you just do vintage stuff? And he's like, just vintage. I don't do this stuff. But I saw today he was standing there on Twitter with a picture of him in a box of the Prism. Maybe someone gave it to him as a gift or something like that. Who knows? But, you're right. I mean, if someone like him who is, clearly, vintage, and has, the craziest vintage collection out there is also going to supplement that with a little bit of this. Why the heck not?
You know what I think it is?
Why?
Vintage is the money. It's where the money's at. It's where the value's at. But if you have a chance to open up a box, have some fun, maybe interact with your wrestling community. And what if you hit something? You're able to sell that right away and maybe you buy another vintage card, It's a little bit like that slot machine vibe.
Well, I mean, the guys who are into vintage, they probably still watch the sport. And even baseball, Logan. You know what I mean? Well, forget about Logan. But, there are other guys now, Becky Lynch, who's not in vintage. Maybe they like her. Maybe they like, Brock Lesnar has some cards, but he wasn't in the 1982 wrestling set. You know what I mean? He wasn't in the vintage stuff. And Prism, the way they do it, right? They're going to add a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. So maybe they want to get a Rock Prism card. And same thing with the UFC, right? They were able to add in rookies, Patty Pimblett and Patty the Batty, like that kind of stuff, right? So, I think it's cool. They add in, a little bit of new life into the product. Topps was doing a good thing with the wrestling stuff, though. I got to tell you, Topps had that Topps Transcendent Wrestling was a really good time, a high price point. But people love Prism, man. People love, what Prism brings to the table. Shiny.
One day they're gonna love Prism.
Prism.
Yeah, I would dollar cost average in two.
Sweet. I got two also.
As we head into World Cup time, this is not. You don't need to rush. I would actually say that this is a buy. Are we going to talk about our man Cristiano Ronaldo? Down 18.5% is his 03 Panini Mega Cracks rookie card PSA 10. This is the go-to Cristiano card.
Okay, I have a better one though, but I have a Ronaldo play too. So I want you to tell me about Ronaldo. Go Ronaldo crazy. I have a Ronaldo play today too, so I'm glad it's not the same one. But it's funny we're both on the same guy because you got soccer in my brain.
Group H is Portugal just qualified. So Group H is Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, South Korea. That's not an easy group. That's not a tough group, but it's irrelevant, right? Buy the hype, sell the news type of thing. Portugal just qualified. Mm-hmm. On the same week, his card is actually down almost 20%. And this is the card, right? This is his rookie card in the best grade there is. And I think this is a card that you don't have to throw all your money at this week, but it's a card you could put $20 in this week, $20 in 3 weeks, $20 in 6 weeks, and dollar cost average into it as we head into kind of the marketing, the hype, the discussion, the who's going to win the World Cup type of thing. The more they bring up a name, Ronaldo's cards are the cards you're going to go. And the second is Messi, obviously. I think Messi and Argentina could not have got a better group, Cage. I think it's one of the easiest groups possible. So Argentina's group, listen to this, Cage. It's Argentina, Mexico, Poland, and Saudi Arabia. So Mexico is a good team, but Mexico is like the little brother to Argentina. They play the same style, except Argentina just has the better guys. And you know what happens when the little brother tries to step up to the big brother? You get punched in the nose.
Yeah, the big brother puts his hand on his head like this. Like hold him like this. The punches. Got a little delay on the inside. I don't know what's going on, but
I don't know how this is possible for the first time in a long time. I'm home alone.
No, I'm delayed. Wow, it just kicked you off. Maybe I'll have to kick. Listen, guys, Andrew's in a different place in Mexico this time. He's in a different place. He's back on. If you want me to reset it, I can reset also. Can you hear me?
You're perfect. All
right, perfect right now. Excellent. So you're about to get into Messi. And you said Argentina, they have an easy draw. If memory serves, you said they have Mexico. Mexico's the little brother to Argentina is the big brother. I think Saudi Arabia was in the draw there. And Poland was in there too.
I mean, Poland has Lewandowski, great player, no doubt. But like this is a beautiful draw. This is one of those draws where Messi ends up with 4 goals heading into the quarterfinals. So to me, Messi, Ronaldo, beautiful plays. Get them on Collectable. You could dollar cost average into them. Their cards have been sold off already, so that also helps.
Price wise, give me a comparison between Messi and Ronaldo before you go into your rest of your stuff here. Is Messi just like head and shoulders above Ronaldo? Are they similar? Similar cards. They have similar pricing. where are they like legacy GOAT wise, right? Is one LeBron and the other is Dwayne Wade, or is it closer than that?
I think it's closer than that. I think it's Peyton and Brady when they were still
Okay.
playing, maybe a few years ago, is
All right.
how I would compare them. So Messi is Ronaldo is 250,000 for his PSA 10.
Uh-huh.
The Messi Mega Cracks, I think there's only a PSA 9 on Collectable. That's what makes it really difficult. So Ronaldo has a PSA 10 of his 03 Mega Cracks. That's 250. Messi has a PSA 9 to 04 Mega Cracks, and that's 58,000. So it's tough. I'll go to Card Ladder to check the
It's all right. You don't have to. So, and I'll tell you why I ask you for a second, right?
Okay.
These World Cup cards, they're interesting, right? The soccer stuff is usually World Cup coming, right? The card I looked at for Ronaldo was actually his 2014 Prism World Cup 1/1 auto, which is on Collectable. Did you know that? Just a really cool looking card. You can pull it up and take a look at it if you like. I think it's a BGS 9 with a 10 auto.
Right now, brother. Pulling it
right?
up right
a really
now.
cool looking card. Not one that you're like, oh, it's not black, it's not gold one. I think it's got country colors actually on it because it's a World Cup card. And it's a pretty cool looking. See, it's a pretty cool looking card, right? So a bunch of reasons for this week. Yeah, see, cool, right? It's got like the green, the yellow. It's got like his whole deal. His autograph on it, BGS 910, just like I said. So I said a couple reasons. Number one, forget about everything Andrew just said. That's all Exhibit A, right? Why Ronaldo's great, why he's got a good draw, how it's World Cup, and all that other fun stuff. Exhibit B is the card is down. For some reason, it took a little bit of a dip last week. This is a card that IPO'd with 51,000 shares at $5 each, which is a $255,000 market cap on IPO. Last week was 403 at close, which puts it just about $200,000. Dropped down to $3.51 a share on close, which is only $179,000 when the IPO was $255, which means we're looking at a card that's just a bit above 2/3 of its IPO. Now you're like, wow, that's still a lot of money for this card. Now, some people don't love autos on these kind of cards. They want like base cards, you name it. But I want you guys to take a look. A lot of times we do it retroactively. So I'm going to be proactive here. Go to Golden Auctions. And we're going to talk about Golden Auctions next week after the auction ends. But I'm going to tell you, we're looking at it ahead of time. This way you get the early scoop when you hear this tomorrow, right? So people love gold. This is not a gold. It's better than gold. It's a 1/1 and it's an auto.
Correct.
But if you look, Golden Auctions has the same year, the 2014 Panini Prism World Cup of Messi in the auction. It's a PSA 10. I get it. That's a pop 2. And remember, this Ronaldo's a 1/1, so it doesn't matter. Already got half the pop, even though this is a PSA 10. It's a gold out of 10, number 2 of 10. All right, gold. Pop 2,
right,
non-autoed. You got the Messi. You'll probably be able to pull it up. You're not sharing the screen. But it's okay. It's first page. And here's why it's first page, right? Because even with a week left, when you add in the buyer's premium, this card is currently at $372,000 for the Messi. There it is right there. It's 310 plus 62, $372,000. This is Messi, not Ronaldo, so I get it. Messi, you say Messi's a little bit, more, right? But the Ronaldo 1/1 auto from the same set, a 1/1, right? This card for Messi is a pop 2 right now. There's 10 of them out there. The 1/1 is $179,000. With the buyer's premium on this Messi and a week to go, this Ronaldo is less than half of what the Messi is selling for. And people don't know that this is up. People don't know this. But after it ends and it sells for 400, 450, 500, even if it just sells for the 372 it's at now, it's going to be all over the place. Ken Golden's going to be tweeting about it. It's going to be all over everywhere saying, look, a Messi card, gold from the 2014 Prism set, not even autoed, sold for almost $400,000. You have this Ronaldo at 179 right now. So it's just, it's a close comparison, same set, same type of rare card. If you're not an auto guy, you can understand why the Messi gold, everybody likes gold. But remember, this, what we have here on Collectable is a 1/1. Right? 1/1 auto. Same year, same set, significantly less priced. So I saw that and said, maybe it's Ronaldo, especially with the week that it had down from 403 to 351, losing, $20-something thousand worth of value. Interesting stuff.
Have we as a Hobby cooled it on like kind of PSA 10 simping. You know what I mean? Like
On a
there
one of
is a
one, you know, whether it's a
right,
10 or a 9 or whatever it is, there's only one. You know, the grading is not going to help here because you're not going to be separating a one of one from a one of one. But yeah, I mean, you know, the PSA 10 though, you know, it definitely held some value. But you know, look, already that Messi, there's 10 of them out there. You know, there's at least 2 PSA 10s.
right,
So it's
right.
not a one of one. You know, it's not an auto, and you know, so it's just obviously you have a player preference. If Messi's your guy, you can understand why that sells for more money. If you like the gold cards, you like the PSA 10s. There's a lot of things going for that. But it is moving in a direction already near $400,000 where it's significantly higher than this particular card, which is a one of one. I know it's a different player, same set. It's just an interesting little piece of analysis, you know, before that auction even ends. Shoot.
I gotta tell you guys, we have. I think we have one of the best communities in the world. I actually think we have the best community in the world, and I think from day one, you know, we had 2 real missions, like, you know, build 1,000 true fans, right? Get to know each one of our community members, and add value. You know, to find ways to give back, whether that's with tangible stuff, like, hey, you know, today we did an OTE Overtime Elite giveaway, or with information. Oftentimes now what's happened is our audience comes to us with ideas, plays, topics, discussions. Trae Young, where do you stand on this guy? Because he's down. Cage,
I got to tell you, man, we
well,
are in
good to see
sync
you.
today. We're in sync today. So my only other play, and I got 2 of them written here. I got my Ronaldo, is Trae Young, right? And it's for different reasons, right? So I don't know whether or not Trae's going to get an early bounce out of the playoffs. They may get one game and leave. But Trae Young's cards have been beat to hell. And there's one particular card, love it, hate it, you name it, on Collectable, that I think the brand, in addition to Trae, the brand is going to get a little bump because of the Drake stuff. You brought him up before on the 86 Fleer. Drake's breaking Flawless, right? And if Drake's breaking Flawless, all of a sudden people are going to look at Flawless and say, well, maybe Flawless is the card to have. Maybe Flawless is the one that people are going to want, right? I mean, if it was something else, then Drake would be breaking that. You know, if it was National Treasure, he'd be breaking that. You know, like clearly it's Flawless, and this is the one we want, and that's the card, right? And what's funny about this one is it IPO'd at $10 a share, 2,400 shares, so that's $24,000. Last week it closed at $11.95 a share, which is $28,680, and fell from $11.95 to $9.30 per share, below IPO price, and more importantly, down about 22 and change percent to now a market cap of 22,320. We're talking about the Trae Young Flawless Green, number 5 of 5. So this is a card that's now below IPO price and at $22,000. A rookie Trae Young Flawless, not an RPA, right? So just want to make sure everybody knows this is just an auto of Young, but it is a rookie auto out of 5 of Trae in a brand that people have been chasing, sitting at $22,000. This is one where you could potentially see, you know, maybe a buyout or, you know, people coming in and buying this card. There are Trae Young fans. The only potential downside on this, and I think it's probably why we saw, you know, the little bit of a sell-off here, is basketball season is coming to an end, most likely for Trae Young. I don't think he has a magical run in him like he had last year. You know, the postseason for him may be one game. We may be talking next week, and Trae Young's season might be over. That's the only little, you know, hesitancy that we have there. And I think obviously that already worked its way into the card because it fell from, you know, the $11.95 last week to $9.30 this week. People have exited because of that. That may be, you know, a little bit of an overreaction. You might be able to pick this one back up on the upswing now that it's fallen below its IPO price. Shoot.
2 things. First thing, I want to give a shout out to Collectable. If you guys aren't using the desktop the desktop trading, missing out. It's so much easier than on the iPhone, at least for me. I love having the big screen, being able to see things side by side. They recently rolled it out. So really big shout out to Collectable for improving their tech. And now they have a desktop trading platform. So shout out to them. I want to ask you about this card. How much does design matter? Like, this card is so plain Jane that does that have anything against it? Do you care?
Oh, I do. Listen, what's funny is the gold out of 10 is probably, something people would go for a little bit more because it's got gold on the card. People like gold rather than green. Green has almost like a retail connotation to it from Prism. The green parallels, even though they're rarer, people kind of stay away from them. So, yeah, you have that. It also has sort of like a plain sort of look to it, right? But it's an on-card rookie auto from Flawless. Do I expect it to be, a $150,000 card? No. But now sitting at 22, a rookie out of 5 from this year. I mean, we've seen his red and blue parallels from Prism. They're not selling for 22,000, but there's 199 and 299 of those as opposed to 5. So yeah, I mean, it definitely matters, right? And Flawless definitely has different options, and I'm sure people would rather go for an RPA because that's what people look for. But this is a nice lower cost alternative, I think.
So, okay, I'll go to this one real quick.
Shoot.
There's an early access 2017 Topps Chrome Orange Refractor Kylian Mbappe, market cap of 54,000. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this specific card is a buy, but the form that this guy is in, back just to the World Cup, all that stuff, really keep an eye out on this card because when you have an early access, right, it gets fully funded. And then you don't get to trade it for 90 days. And this is, I believe, the only Mbappe card on Collectable. So when this thing opens up, there could be a bit of FOMO, and you could be getting a steal by just investing in the only Mbappe card on Collectable, kind of while he's on a heater, but no one's really investing in this card because it's not available for trading. It's only for early access. So something to take a look at with that card. I wanted to say that. Anything, I mean, Collectable provided so much data. I mean, we could talk about the Babe Ruth card from last week.
Yeah, that went up a little bit, right?
Yep,
that went up a little bit. There's another one, I think, in Golden. I think there's another 8 in Golden, so we'll get another comp on that. Remember the one on Collectibles in SGC 8 with, a PWCC eye appeal indicator. But, we'll see whether or not that $100,000 sale from last time out is an outlier or not. We'll definitely have a lot more comps, a lot more things to watch for, in our next week's show when Golden's premier auction ends. How about, let's see, anything fun for you? You're a Kobe guy. What do you think about the Kobe memorabilia market? The memorabilia market overall was was slightly up this past week, up about 2 and change percent. Is there any rhyme or reason to the Kobe? This pair of shoes goes up, this pair of shoes goes down. Do you ever read on that as a Kobe fan? Do people just like specific things when it comes to Kobe? And if you don't
remember my Kobe mutual fund idea?
Uh-huh.
That's how I would play memorabilia. It's really hard, man. It's really hard to outsmart the market. And in reality, you kind of can never do it, right? We have some fun with NFTs because they're so volatile, but we're always kind of like, oh, I should have been in that one. I was in this one, but then I sold too early, And
yep.
what Fractional sort of allows you to do is to be in some of these huge or the best NFTs or the best cards, you need a bankroll of like a hedge fund, right? That's why hedge funds come in, raise money, and they could actually buy the full assets, and then they kind of mitigate risk. And okay, well, Giannis went up 40%, Luka's down 10, Kobe's up 3, LeBron, and they kind of all balance each other out, right?
Yep.
We as retail guys and the people listening to this who are retail investors, we don't have that unlimited bankroll. But with Fractional, what it allows you to do is create your own sort of mutual fund, allows you to be your own portfolio manager. And you could choose to put $20 into Kobe memorabilia, right? Into each piece. And then when you get another, let's say there's 5 pieces, 20 into each one, you put in $100. And next time you have $100, you do 20 into each one again. Now you have kind of an even split between all of the memorabilia. You believe in the Kobe memorabilia market, but you don't have to choose the exact one that will be the flyer or will be the buyout offer, or whatever it is. I think that's kind of what I'm seeing is maybe the best way to play the Kobe memorabilia market.
Makes sense. I mean, 100% makes sense. Other IPOs, other offerings, anything else? The only thing before we get into that I'd like to say is, be careful on things that run, guys. So, I mean, Andrew, if you can, what are the 3 cards that went up the most? Because, guys, just to note on this, right, that last week's number 1 runner, right, was the Seager, the orange Seager that was up a tremendous amount. And it was, I believe, the card that was down the most this week, or definitely in the top 3 down. You could take a look at those and give us those. I would pay attention to what Andrew tells you now, the top 3 that are up this week, although we didn't have a crazy runner, I don't think, like that Seager. But people do come in, buy them, they run, and then they take a little bit of profit. So, things that are up 20, 30, 40%, don't be surprised if they are down 10 or 15% in the coming week, and prepare for that, because there are people who see that it runs and they take their profit out. So, guys, what are the 3 that are up and the 3 that are down, if you can?
Sure. So the number 1 was 75% up, was the Luka Doncic rookie game worn jersey. He wore it for 9 games, which
is pretty cool.
Before we hopped on, I thought that was interesting. Like 9 games. Like, how do you decide how many? I thought they wore a new jersey every game, quite frankly. So that one, the Luka Doncic rookie game worn jersey, he wore it for 9 games, up 75%. Patrick Mahomes, the 2017 Bronze Stars out of 6 basket, BGS 9, there's 2 of them. That was up 38%. Kind of healthy to see, all right, Mahomes, we're heading into, next season. It's not so far away. You see a little bit of a buyback, but it'll be interesting to see if this one is on the top 3 gainers, top 3 decliners, or neither next week. And then the Lou Gehrig 1925 exhibit image type 3 photo, up 37%. The interesting thing about that was it was on the decliner list the week before. Right. It was down 34%. So
kind of what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
The correction. People saw that and they're like, all right, well, let me pick it back up. That's a type 3. Cool photo, but type 3. And what are the 3 that are down?
So the 3 that are down are the Corey Seager basket you just talked about. It was down 27.6%. Trae Young, the flawless green, we also talked about, it was down 22%. And the Cristiano Ronaldo 03 Panini Mega Cracks, which is like the PSA 10, which is like his grail card. If we get rid of, Prism, this is his rookie card, down 18.5%. That's a cool card, man. That's a cool card. That's your Montana card. That's your Rice.
That's the clear-cut rookie. That's his card, right? There's nothing else to look at. There's no sticker or anything like that has him on it, or anything like that. That's pretty cool.
Say what you want about Ronaldo, man. The guy has reach. The guy has, 100 million Instagram followers, Cage.
I mean, he talked Brady out of retiring.
Did he really? No, I never know if that stuff's real.
No. I mean, he went and visited him, and then the next day, all of a sudden, Brady was back, So I guess, you can see Ronaldo doing it. He's not exactly, a spring chicken. Not that he's old.
If I was running marketing for FIFA, I would, kind of do like, remember Peyton versus Brady? They had those commercials where they kind of, people love that. This guy versus this guy.
Yeah.
Messi versus Ronaldo, the final stand. Make a movie out of it, create content out of it. Because this is these 2 guys' last World Cup. This is the greatest players of our generation. Bar none, you can't question it. These are the 2 best guys. And this is their last World Cup, last opportunity to win. They've never won a World Cup. Create content, market it. And I think Messi, Ronaldo, remember that run when it was Nadal and Fed in those cards? Yeah. I think we see that and even more with these 2. I really do. I don't see how
it makes me think of. I mean, it's cheesy to watch them now, but when I was a kid, McDonald's did a great thing with Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, where they, one of them came into the gym with McDonald's like a Big Mac meal, and they were like, "I'll play you for it," like horse basically, like first one to miss,
right.
First one. And they're like, then it was like to shoot a regular shot, then over the backboard, and then they wind up like in the rafters, over the rafter, off the center court line, no backboard, nothing but net, and then they did like continuation, like over the moon, past Mars, nothing but net, like the. I just remember the swishing sound. Why not? How about like kicking goals, like the same kind of thing. Do McDonald's, right? Like around the stadium, over. 1,000%. Over the castle and nothing but net. Boom. Kick a penalty kick. I don't know what they would do. I'm an idiot. But I get your point.
Dude, Mike was in Man, Michael Jordan's a goat. Like he was in the commercial that comes to my mind, and I was hearing it play out. It was
What, Gatorade?
anything you could do, I could do
even better,
better. Anything you could do, I could do better than you. No, you can't. Yes, I can.
That
One is great in my brain.
I mean, how about be like Mike, a little Gatorade? If I could be like Mike, like Mike. And not like the movie where the kid found his shoes. I'm talking about like the real.
I like that movie. Little Bow Wow.
I know you do.
And then he took the little out of it. He was just Bow Wow.
That's it. Just Bow Wow. All right, listen, we give you something to think about. It was an interesting one. Lots of soccer, little soccer talk today. I guess that might, that might be.
Can I ask you one more thing? While I have you on the phone.
Shoot.
While I have you on the phone. Eddie Plank, was he the original creator of planking?
Yes. No, he was not. He's not a yoga guy. He was a pitcher. I mean, an amazing pitcher, actually, Eddie Plank. And,
up 45% on his cards the last 2 weeks. So just to give you context of why I'm bringing him up.
It's interesting, right? So Eddie Plank, there was another – so he was another one of those guys that in the T206 set was considered a short print. I remember getting the Beckett magazines or even Tough Stuff magazine, if you remember that, guys, where, I remember seeing the Honus Wagner was a $75,000 card. And the Eddie Plank was $25,000, right? And that they were rare, and same kind of thing. He was one of the stars at the time, and rumor of he didn't want his card on a tobacco product, or what's more likely is neither he nor Honus Wagner could come to financial terms with the tobacco companies that were creating these cards, and a few were able to sneak out. There's about as many Planks, maybe a little bit more Planks as there are, Wagners out there. But what's funny about it is over the last, we're talking about when I'm talking about this is like the 80s, when I'm talking about the values of the cards and reading articles about them. So over the last 40 years almost, the Wagner has almost become this iconic symbol of baseball cards as an asset class, and it has left the Plank in the dust. The Plank is sort of like that second card in the set, right? And there are other ones like Sherry McGee, Maggie Error. Obviously, the Ty Cobb is an awesome card, but not exactly as rare. And Cy Young, and there's all kinds of guys in the set. But
if I could tell you, the best April Fool's joke was actually the Golden Post. I thought that they did actually find a Ty Cobb PSA 10.
No, that was, first of all, it was a Wagner, and there's no way. I mean, no way.
But since
they can make one.
I have no clue.
They can make one.
Hand
but they're not
cut,
gonna find
right?
one.
Hand cut fries.
Hand cut
fries are so good.
They're not gonna find one. They can make one.
Hand cut fries will make you.
I mean, the Rumsmead Swamp Find. I think that's in New Jersey. I don't know. Right. Runsmead. What I think.
One more hypothesis theory.
Anyway, just to seal it on Plank,
yeah,
I think the reason why it's gone up is because it is kind of like that. You talk about Little Brother, Big Brother. People look at the Wagner, a recent one just sold for $3 million, 3 and change. I love that card, by the way. Great story. It used to be owned by Charlie Sheen. People say, all right, well, if that's $3 million, the Plank, which has a similar pop, and he's also an amazing player. Maybe that should get a little bit of love also. That's kind of probably why we're seeing the movement that it's seeing.
I've never understood the Charlie Sheen appeal. He doesn't make any sense to me.
The card itself, it's got a great story. You guys look it up. I don't want to butcher the story, but basically, at the time there was the what do they call it, Planet Hollywood, and there was like these restaurants. But I think there was a competitor to it called the All-Star Cafe, maybe I think it was, or something. Like Bruce Willis was in it, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it, right? There were all these, kind of like, it was almost like, you know what I'm talking about. Right? Look it up. I think it's All-Star Cafe. But anyway, Sheen owned this card and a bunch of other, sports memorabilia pieces, and I believe they were put on display at the main cafe and were stolen. Including this card was stolen, and the thieves replaced it with like a fake, like a facsimile, sort of like one of those like capers. But the FBI was involved. Or I think they might have gotten away with it, but they kept taking more and more, right? And the FBI was involved, and they got the card back. So it's got that Charlie Sheen
That's
ownership,
cool.
this
That's
story to it, and that kind of stuff. So
touche. That's kind of cool. So for you guys out there that are following the Lakers documentary and all that stuff, here's the general consensus: it has had no effect on cards. And it's interesting because when you hear it all the time, oh, documentary's coming out, and I want to discuss, maybe some criteria of what makes a documentary hit for card values and what makes a documentary miss. And here's my theory. So the Jordan one, Jordan is such an enigma. We never got a chance to see behind the scenes of Jordan, right? He didn't live through the social media age. We didn't know what it was all about. He was someone that we saw greatness on the court, but we never knew much about him behind. And during COVID, it was kind of like a culmination of factors. Everyone was home. Everyone was waiting for it. So you had someone who we didn't know much about. And again, perfect timing. Everyone was home. F1. F1 snuck up on people. F1 came out of nowhere. And again, when something like that comes out of nowhere and hits the scene, I think that's what makes card values go up. We knew a lot about the Showtime Lakers. Magic is a personality that's bigger than life. We knew about the Magic Bird rivalry. I'm curious, Cage, if you're coming back with us, the Kobe documentary, right? Because in many ways, Kobe was also, and I believe, I'm not sure if this will happen, was also an enigma for a lot of people. People didn't really understand or know the life of Kobe. They only knew the insane competitor on the court. But I think if this documentary is done right, people will see Kobe the artist. Kobe, really how much he loved the game, how much he put into the game, how much time he spent, whether that's, writing kind of music on his first season, writing songs his first season, or he used to write commercials for TV. And then, he retired, and the process of him writing Gear Basketball and all that stuff. I'm curious how that documentary is going to hit with his cards.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference I think will be his cards already kind of ran. And they've kind of retreated. And, his autos, there are a lot of him out there and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see.
Love you, Luca Nation. We'll
Thanks,
be back
everybody.
next week. Thank you, Collectable. We love this partnership. We love what you've done with what's it called? The desktop version of trading. I love it. Our community loves it. We get DMs all the time. See you next week.